If you want some tips for how to prevent your makeup from sitting into fine lines, this video is for you. You can follow along with whatever you already have. Everything I've used is listed in the description, so if you click to make it full screen, the title will come up along the top, click the arrow next to it and a full list of products will drop down. A couple of weeks ago I put a question sticker up and said what kind of thing would you like to see a video on, and a really overwhelming amount of responses came in. Makeup for mature skin, tips for mature skin. Now I really consciously never call any of my videos that, and the reason being that I feel like if I name a video makeup for mature skin, it gives a signal, if you feel that you have mature skin, that none of the other videos are for you, and that is not the case. I really want you to feel that you can get good out of any video on this page regardless of your age. However, I do also appreciate that if that has come in such an overwhelming way, that maybe I'm not being clear enough about things that you can do to prevent makeup sitting in fine lines and things like that. So I'm going to do this today with that in mind. In terms of picking colours, picking ways to wear your makeup, I really honestly think that that is about you, the colours that you like, express yourself the way that you like. I really just want you to think of this as more tweaks that you'd make to your technique and not me telling you that you should or shouldn't do something based on your age. And another thing I just thought I would point out in case you're new here or if you haven't seen one of these videos before, at the moment, I obviously do all of the videos on myself, but I've been a makeup artist for over 10 years. Anything that I'm sharing with you today is based on doing lots of other people's makeups. I just happen to be showing you on my own face. Monologue over. I've clipped my hair out of the way because I'm going to be using a lot of kind of things towards the outer part of the face today. Before I started filming, I prepped my skin with Dr. Jart Ceramidin. This is a really rich, buttery moisturiser. Now, I've just come out of having COVID, and I think just because you're blowing your nose and you're just a bit, under the weather, I'm really quite dry this week, and I've noticed in particular the outer parts of my face are very dry. So I've used something really rich, but I wanted to give it, say, 10 minutes to settle in so that I didn't have lots of rich layers all going on at the same time. Now, the next thing I'm going to use is the It Cosmetics CC Cream in the shade Light Medium. I am the UK and Ireland ambassador for It Cosmetics, and I know I use this all the time, but for me, it's my favourite base, and it's something that I love recommending. And you'll see why. It gives a really luminous, fresh finish to the skin, but it still gives you coverage if you need it, which I am going to aim to cover some of these areas of redness. Now, controversial plot twist, I very rarely use sponges. And it's so funny, I put a video up using a sponge the other day, and Lisa, you might know Lisa on here, her page is GlamMums7, really lovely, she's in Australia. She was like, Rose, I can't believe you're using a sponge. Now, another thing that I'm really keen to emphasise, I don't believe in like rules or right or wrong. If you use a sponge, go for it, good for you. I personally very rarely use them because I just find that they drink up so much more product. However, when your skin is dry or flaky, and this was another one of the questions that came in, my skin is actually a little bit flaky in certain parts right now, and sponges are great for that because they sit over the skin, whereas like my hands or a brush would be rubbing and buffing and potentially lifting those flakes. This is going to help me to just sit the product on the skin. Now, just to completely moan about the very sponge that I'm using, I put 2 pumps of my CC cream on. I haven't done my whole face. If I was using a brush or my hands, 1, maybe 1.5 pumps would have been enough, and that's why sponges drive me mad. However, for the case of today, having very dry skin, I will want to use a sponge just to get the finish that I'm looking for. Now, one thing I would say when you're working with fine lines in the skin, you want to use as little product as you can, because I want you to think of it this way. The more product that you have sitting on your skin, the more potential you have for that to settle into fine lines. Now, the likes of this It Cosmetics CC cream is a really ideal choice because I mean, I could talk about the CC cream all day, to be honest with you. It's a skincare makeup SPF hybrid. Some of the ingredients in there, things like collagen, niacin, antioxidants, they're really lovely for, you know, creating a healthy skin. But also, because this is a full coverage, but it has this soft gel-like texture, you're getting the coverage that you want without having loads and loads of things on your skin. Now, what I'm going to do, you can see there that redness is still showing through a bit. Again, if I was using my brush, I'd have covered that by now. But I'm just going to gently pat a little bit more where I'm most prone to redness. And I would really encourage you, if you're working with fine lines, to keep things as hydrating as possible. So I'm going to use all creams today. And don't put everything everywhere. Like, we all have our different skins. I personally don't have an awful lot of discoloration around my eyes. Do you know what's funny? I sometimes get questions about what I've used on them and I've left them blank. And do you know why I think they look brighter? It's because I've usually got so much redness here that this looks clearer in comparison, and it can look like I've, you know, put a brightener on them or something. But I think it's just the stark contrast with the redness. But anyway, here we are, patting on small amounts until we get the coverage that we want. Foundation, in theory, is done. Now, I get an oily T-zone, and as you can see, it's looking quite rich down the centre of the face. I'm just going to give that a minute to settle of its own accord, and then I'm going to deal with that. But first of all, I used this by chance the other day. It's the Bobbi Brown Crushed Creamy Colour for Lips and Cheeks. This is the shade Latte. This is a really densely pigmented gel. So again, we're going for these like gel textures that offer a lot of colour but are thin in consistency. I used this by chance the other day, again on a sponge. Now this is really pigmented and you'll really have to pat this down to soften it before you go near your face. But it really just added a bit of lift to me when I was looking dull one day. And I would say to you, if you really just take the time to put a little bit more colour around the outer parts of the face with a bronzer or something like that, in particular if your skin's feeling a bit dry or dull, it can really perk it up. Now, one thing I do actually really want to mention, that over the next coming weeks, I've basically got a list of as long as my arm of things to kind of show you. And I was away and sick and all the rest of it. So I'm really playing catch up. I am quite overwhelmed with the amount of new things at the moment. There are so many new things on the market. I'm in a really lovely, lucky position that I get to try them and share them with you. But I just want to give you a reminder that any of these videos, I want you to use the techniques with what you already have. I'm not saying go out and buy every single thing, but there's lots of newness at the moment that I'm just going to show you. And if you like the look of something, then, you know, you've got a little show and tell of what it's like. But just in case you look at the next few things and think, oh my gosh, there's so much newness, like, I completely agree with you. I have got a few new bits to show you today, and that's one of them. But just, I do like to remind you that take the bits that you like and try it with whatever is already in your makeup bag and see how that goes. It's a real shame through the screen that I can't convey pressure. I was actually bouncing that in a really soft way, because the thing I hate about sponges is that they can drink everything up, and if you're trying to build coverage, they're not going to be the best way to do that. However, if you use a really soft touch and gently press it on, you can have the best of both worlds. I'm kind of arguing myself out of these sponges, but I have to admit, while my skin has just been a bit dry this week, they've been doing a beautiful job. The next thing I would encourage you to do, again with that soft touch, is stick to those creamy textures, in particular if you have any fine lines around the cheek area, and go for something glossy or creamy or luminous to just add a little flush to the cheeks. Now, whether you are super fair, whether you've got a deeper complexion, I really think on everyone, there is nothing nicer to brighten the complexion than coral. I'm going to use this new brand, Gen C. Really lovely brand. They've got lots of kind of lipsticks, multi-purpose balms. This is a clean Sheen cheek and lip colour. Again, the same kind of theme here. You've got a really densely pigmented gel-like consistency, so you only need a tiny bit to get your coverage. Their whole ethos, I've just been looking at the website before I came on to you. They're vegan, they're sustainably made. They would call themselves clean. I feel like clean is one of those words that's so difficult to regulate, so I won't particularly, you know, comment on that, but to know that they're sustainable and vegan are two really lovely selling points. And I remember when this turned up, there were just a few different, you know, colours and textures, and I remember saying to a friend of mine, gosh, it's a really lovely simple kind of mixture of things that I was really keen to try. So just tapping in this little bit of coral here. I've got quite a pinky lip on today, so I might just add a little touch of this to bring the lips and the cheeks in slightly more harmony with one another. Okay, so at this point, I feel like we've definitely achieved the glow, the radiance, potentially a bit too much glow for me down the centre of the face. This, now that I'm going to show you the Indeed Labs Nanoblur, if you want to take down shine, but like one of the questions I had in the response sticker was, how can I use powder without it looking drying? I really think that there are some great powders now that don't look drying. The It Cosmetics by Pores is my personal favourite. The Peaches and Cream Setting Powder is a brilliant, affordable powder. But if you wanted an alternative, this Nanoblur is really great. I'll show you. I discovered this. Basically, this is a bit of a rabbit hole, but hear me out. You know, I'm great friends with Laura Capon. We love sending each other different things that we see on the internet, both obsessed with the programme Euphoria. So there's this journalist, Kirbie Johnson, that has done all of these makeup deep dives of the Euphoria set. I am like, this page is going to turn into a Kirbie Johnson fan page. She's my new favourite person that, like, you know, when you find someone and you go back and binge everything they've ever said, she's just fab. She really does a great mixture of like reviews, talking you through what other people are using, things that she enjoys. So anyway, she was talking about this Indeed Labs Nanoblur. It looks like it's going to be really kind of silicone-y the way it comes out, but it's not. And essentially, if you just pat this in, it will help to take down any shine. And like, as the name would suggest, it's a blurring agent. And so if you had any little areas of texture or pores or anything like that, it just helps to detract from them. Now, again, I just feel like the more I fall down the rabbit hole of the internet, I do want to caveat that none of these things to do with pores are going to last all day. Nothing. I think that I completely appreciate that there is a level of skepticism at this point of online, social media. There's an awful lot of, you know, things that aren't as they seem. Prime example, me literally being plastered all over that pink primer video. I've never heard of it. I've never used it. I totally get why there's skepticism when you've got things like that. I'm literally the face of this thing that I've never even heard of or used. So yes, there's a lot of bad stuff out there. But like, I think as well, there is a lot of nice stuff. Like, look at that. It's not going to last all day and you would need to top it up, but you can still get great results. Another thing I would say in general with makeup tips for working with fine lines and wrinkles, absolutely nothing is going to stay immaculate all day. You can do all the prep, you can apply it really well. You've probably got a great makeup bag already. The real key to getting your makeup to look and feel great all day is top it up a little bit through the day. So for example, if your blush sits into any fine lines or wrinkles, taking 2 seconds when you go to the bathroom to just spread it out a little bit, pat it back in, give it a little zhuzh, that makes all the difference. And I really think, I'm going to just actually finish with some of Lisa Eldridge's Seamless Skin while I tell you this. I really think that a lot of the questions I get about makeup are actually things that we've been led to believe through like marketing, or like, for example, key one that came in, how do I stop my concealer from creasing under the eyes? There are loads of things that you can do to prevent that, but actually it will happen at some point in the day. So really, there isn't really a secret to like making it completely immaculate all day, but there is a secret to making sure your makeup lasts for as long as possible without you needing to top it up. Does that make sense? Very important makeup for fine lines recommendation. I love highlighters, I love creams, I love anything that adds glow. I think in particular, because I've got redness and I wear a lot of coverage, I think if I didn't have the redness, I'd probably be quite a natural girl, but I feel that for me personally, I want to cover that up, and so I end up wearing a lot of coverage. Lisa Eldridge's Seamless Skin is one of the most beautiful highlighters I've tried, because it's creamy and it's radiant, but it's not glittery. It literally gives like a well-rested flush. It's a really lovely texture that, again, I feel you could work really gently in and it won't sit in any lines. I have to admit, anything I've tried from Lisa Eldridge has been incredible. And another thing, while I think of her, recently I've had quite a few people say, can I do someone else's makeup? It's definitely something that I want to work towards, but it's just, to be honest, just a case of planning, booking a model, booking a space. Like, it's a bit of an equation, but I definitely want to do it. But in the interim, I know I don't need to tell you about Lisa Eldridge, but at the same time, sometimes I feel like when you don't say the obvious thing, there's going to be someone that maybe hasn't seen what I'm about to say. But Lisa Eldridge is the most calm, reassuring, patient teacher. She has a whole backlog of YouTube videos on models, talking you through what she's using. In terms of like someone that I love to watch and feel really soothed by, I just love watching her videos. And so if there's a particular technique that you want to see on, you know, an eye shape, a skin texture, whatever it might be, you'll definitely find it on her channel. I will definitely work towards doing some makeups on other people, but for the interim, have a really big binge of Lisa's video. Thank you so much for suggesting that. I hope you enjoyed, and I really hope it comes through that as much as I want you to keep these techniques in mind, I never want you to feel like there is any video on this page that isn't for you, because you can enjoy every last one of them. But thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll chat to you very soon.